Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Okay. Hello, this is the Partnership for Profit podcast hosted by Giovanna Rossini. Today I'm being joined by Giselle Delgado. Now, Giselle here is an operations and quality management consultant who helps law firms and service-based businesses streamline systems to build stronger teams. Now, Giselle, tell us a little bit about yourself. What exactly do you aim to do for your clients?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here and join you in this podcast. So, what I do for my clients is that I work in the operations of their firms or businesses, and I help them see where the inefficiencies are, and I help them document procedures so that their team members can follow them and be able to carry out the operations in a very high standard quality way.
All right. And when someone is unable to operate in this high standard way, what problems do you see typically being caused by that?
Yeah, so it can be caused by a variety of reasons. So the first one I see is that people are not trained properly, right? Some people might do the documentation of the procedures in a really good way, but when it comes to training, they're not trained, in the best way. Maybe they just train them once and they're like, okay, they should be able to handle it. And sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes people need retraining. Sometimes they need re-explanations and, other things to be able to carry it through. So that's just one of the things I typically see as a problem rising.
All right. Now, tell me a little bit more about your experience and how you got here. What gives you the wonderful perspective you have to be able to accomplish these things?
Yeah, sure. So I worked at the Coca-Cola company in Atlanta as a chemist for almost 4 years. And then I worked as a CEO for an immigration law firm for 10 years. And I was able to see how the procedures, systems, trainings in the lab were able to be transferred to really anywhere, any business, to be able to carry out the work with high quality standards. So I was able to implement that in the law firm for those 10 years, and I could see how beneficial it was. And after that, I worked with other attorneys doing the same things, helping them with the operation. So that's my background. And that's how I've come to do what I currently do.
All right. And it all started at Coca-Cola, huh?
Yes.
Now, we've learned a little bit about you, but could you tell us a little bit about a time or whatever you can say where you helped a client to improve? I know you might not be able to say exactly who, but...
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a lot of examples, a lot of them from where I worked at a law firm for 10 years. And some of them clients of mine throughout the years that I've been able to see. And one example that quickly comes to mind is there's attorneys, for example, that they don't even have an employee handbook. And that sounds like, what? Really? Like, they should, like, they know they should. But honestly, business owners are so busy in doing their daily work that these things just escape their minds and they don't really prioritize them. And this can really cause issues. And I could see how not having that, and when I talk to their team, they're like, well, I don't know my expectations. I don't know how the time off policy works. It's not written anywhere. There's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of question. There's a lot of doubt. And just by creating an employee handbook can relieve some of that stress, not only for the business owner, but also for the employees. But that's just a small example of many that I can share with you that I see often, which is surprising when it comes to, attorneys.
That is honestly incredible. I'm sure most people know what it's like to work someplace where it doesn't feel like expectations are very clearly laid out. And I'm sure you've seen people get really upset and disgruntled, and everything will probably go a lot smoother, as you said, if everyone just knows what their expectations are, right?
Absolutely. And it's crazy because I feel that the employee, they have the best intention to meet and exceed those expectations. But sometimes as employers, we assume that they know what those expectations are based on a few conversations or based on common sense. And it is not that easy. I think I like to have a meeting with, when I hire someone and say, these are your duties and responsibilities. These are the expectations I have from you. These are the metrics that I'm going to be, following with you and making sure they're met and they're doing good. And if this metric is not where it needs to be, then we're going to have a conversation, because it's not about accusing them or making them feel bad. It's about, at the end of the day, getting the work done in a productive and high quality way, but also giving that employee the tools they need. Maybe they need something they don't have. Maybe they misunderstood something. Maybe the expectation, again, is not clear and that needs to be clarified before moving forward. So these are just common things I see across the board. And just to clarify, it's not only with attorneys, it's small businesses overall. Like, this is a common problem I see.
Yeah, I mean, in the best of ways, common sense isn't always so common. And that's not necessarily anything against people. It's just we oftentimes assume that most people understand what we want without explaining it to them.
Correct.
And oftentimes we just don't. We're not telepathic. But do you think maybe you could use another example to kind of explain a little bit about your process?
Absolutely. So the way I work with businesses is I do an audit. So, and this is where my background in Coca-Cola comes into play. So when I work for Coca-Cola, we would get external audits. As you know, it's a product that's consumed. So people have to make sure that things they're regulated very tightly. So we have to have everything very organized, very in place, follow procedures, things labeled, you name it. And small offices, they don't really get audited by anyone, not even themselves, right? They're just chugging along, like doing all the things they have to do, going to court, attending to clients. They just don't have time. So I bring that to them. I'm like, I think the first thing we need to do is review what you currently are doing. I don't want to give you any ideas or like things to do unless I know what's going on and what are you currently doing. So that's the first thing I do. I do an audit. I review. I ask a bunch of questions. I meet with them for about 2 hours, sometimes more. And I just ask questions and, look at their systems and look at how they do things currently. And then I provide a list of things that I think might be helpful if they start doing. So as I said before, it could be an implementation of a handbook, or it could be, hey, I think you should have a documented area of how you onboard people. It is not very clear how you onboard people to your firm or company. It will be good to have those prepared before you hire someone. And these are some ideas. And then after that, I tell them, this is for you. You can go ahead and do it on your own. Or if you want help, I can help you. And the way I work is by projects. I don't like year-long contracts, none of that. I prefer to say, okay, you want to develop an onboarding system and procedures? Let's work on that, and then that's what we do and focus on first, because operations is so big and overwhelming that people just say, I just don't want to do it. It's too much, or they just don't have the time. I rather do it right and do it by chunks at a time. So that way it feels manageable.
That makes sense, rather than trying to either rush and cram everything into a set of time or spreading it out unnecessarily over a longer period of time. Now, just to clarify something on your process, you mentioned that you would speak to them for a couple of hours. Are you just more so referring like specifically to like the business owner, or do you tend to have meetings with like some of their employees, like, or is it just the one? Do you do both? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So usually it's the business owner. However, some of them, depending on how big they are, they might have like a right hand, someone that's maybe an operations person that carries out that for them currently. And if that's the case, I like to include them if the owner is okay with it, because the more information I have, the better I know like the audit will be and the better information they're going to get. Because believe it or not, and well, not believe it or not, like this is the reality. Like if you have someone who's in operations currently, they probably know more than the owner about the current operations, because the owner, as he should or she should, is focused on actually doing the work that nobody else can do but him. Attorneys, for example, they're busy just going to court and reviewing packets to be turned in, and doing consults and going to jail, like all these things, right? So if they have an operations person who does that for them, they might have information that they don't, and it'll be helpful for us.
All right. And you mentioned that you like to do things by way of projects. Do you typically start with like project packages, or is it more so just a case by case basis what you see they end up needing?
Yes. So usually it's a case by case. I do have packages that typically work. Like, for example, I have one that's hiring and onboarding, because usually when you hire someone, you need to onboard them. So I have packages like that. But honestly, every firm, every company is so different that I prefer to really make sure that it works for them. Regardless of what it is, I like to make it very personalized to them.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, could you use maybe another example? Again, I know you can't necessarily use names, but kind of describe what something was, what a business was doing before, and then how things changed after you got there.
Yeah. So, for example, I've worked with businesses where they had zero things documented. And when I say zero, means like nothing. Everything was taught literally just saying it. Like, they will hire someone and they will sit down with them and they would just say, do this, 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 this. They wouldn't record the training. They wouldn't write it down, nothing. So then when I came in to help them, I sat down with them. I recorded the trainings. I created the procedures. So if they have to bring somebody else in that same position, they have everything already there. They don't have to spend hours upon hours, to re-explain everything. The other problem with that is, if you're human, so you might explain something slightly different every time you explain it, and that can cause confusion as you grow. So that is why it's important to have these procedures written down or these videos done where everybody gets trained on the same standards.
Yeah, and that way there's something that you can physically look back on in case, maybe somebody is missing something specific. Like, you don't necessarily want an employee having to go back to their manager or whoever is above them constantly just because they're like, ooh, I'm not sure about this one specific thing in the process. I don't want to mess up. I better ask. When instead they could just quickly look at like a list or something and not have to bother that other person working, because I'm sure that person's also got lots to do.
100%. And not only that, it is really good to have it because you can manage people better, and not from a feeling state, but from an actual data point. And what I mean is, let's say that this person who was trained on this procedure actually made a mistake. Instead of you being upset at them because they made the mistake, you can come to them and say, hey, this is the procedure, and what you did was against the procedure. It was not there. You were not trained that way. Can we find out the root cause of why this happened? Right. And then I help them go through a root cause analysis where we find out, okay, is this really a training procedure? Is this like that person was just distracted? Like, what exactly happened so that we can fix that problem so it doesn't happen again? Now, if this person keeps doing the same thing, again, without the feelings involved, you can just say, hey, you're still doing the same thing. I retrained you. I gave you all the tools. Either we're going to have to, let you go if that's the route you're thinking about, or we're going to have to put you in a performance improvement plan, or this is not a task that you're going to be doing anymore. We're going to have to move you. Like, you have more leverage to decide what's going to be best for you, because at the end, what matters is that the product you produce is a high quality standard. So it doesn't matter what it is, we have to fix it. But these procedures give you that data to like be like, okay, I'm going to let you know that this is not right and this is why. And it just prevents a lot of frustration and drama in companies overall.
That makes sense. I mean, at least how I'm understanding it, you're describing basically saying not only does it make day-to-day production easier, it also basically gives you grounds to stand on if someone isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that way, without just getting to the point of frustration, you can basically keep track and be like, hey, here's the paper trail. This is
Yep.
what you're not doing. Can we
Correct.
address this, or do we have to dismiss this?
Correct. Also, if that person eventually quits and they're trying to accuse you, I've seen this before. This is why I'm bringing it up. They try to accuse you like, oh, they were not a good employer. They didn't train me. They, all these things that they can say. You have all the proof in the world because you did things right. Something else I do is I do training documents. So if someone is trained on a procedure, I make sure that I have a document that says this person was trained by this other person on this date. And I attach 3 examples of that person carrying out the procedure correctly. So there's no an excuse. Like, oh, I didn't know how to do it. Oh yeah, you trained me, but I didn't know. I'm like, well, you signed off that you did. And I tell them before they sign off, do not sign if you have questions. Do not sign if you cannot carry this through. If you're signing, it means that you actually know what you're doing and you actually showed me 3 times and I have the proof here that you know how to do it. So I cover our clients really well with documentation. And this is something that, believe it or not a lot of people do. When I worked at Coca-Cola, we had no choice. But in small businesses, that's not the case. And this is where I come in to help them.
All right. So yeah, it also offers a layer of protection to the business themselves. That makes a lot of sense. Yes. Is there anything that we really haven't talked about yet that you would really like me to highlight?
Yes, actually, one of the things that I get asked a lot and my clients really like is I teach something called efficiency and streamlining. And it's basically looking at current systems that you have and finding waste, things that you do that you don't necessarily have to do in order to get the high quality product or service that you want to give your clients. So I carry them through this mechanism where I can help them because it's their firm and they are the ones that will identify these waste. And it could be where maybe, they could be very small. They need to print something, but the stapler is like a room away. And every time they have to print it, they have to go there and grab the stapler. I'm like, why is the stapler not next to you? Right? Like, so simple, but you're wasting time getting something that you actually, by having it next to you, can save you time. And time is money. Like, I want people to be very efficient. And it's not about hiring all these people to do all this job. Maybe with the people you currently have, you can do it. It's just that your systems are not efficient and you're having a lot of waste. Attorneys usually, and this is very normal, attorneys have a lot of waste in waiting. Like, paralegals, for example, wait a lot on attorneys to approve, to review, to do things, because of course there's only one attorney and 3, 4, 5 paralegals. That's a bottleneck in itself. So I help them with their current systems. Okay, how can we reduce it? Maybe we can eliminate it, right? But maybe we can reduce it. And that's something important. It's not only that I help you create the system and implement it, I can also help you see what you currently do. Can we save a minute? Can we save 5, maybe a second? And when you multiply that, you're really saving a lot of time.
Yeah. Now, before we wrap up, how could people maybe see a little bit more of you or possibly even contact you if they would like to hire you for your services?
Absolutely. So I have an email. They can contact me. It's Giselle@businessoperationslab.com. Also, I do free consultations. They can schedule a consultation with me free of charge. And they can look at my website or my social media where I have videos with more information.
All right. Again, thank you again for coming today. We loved having you.
Thank
Genuinely.
You so much. Oh, thank you so
I
much.
hope you had fun.
I did. Thank you so much.
Of course. Now, have a wonderful day. We'll see you shortly. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.